See, I did it.
Welcome back to 94 Feet, ladies and gentlemen. A little bit of a different, obviously, episode going in from the daytime instead of the nighttime. And of course, we got some big things to talk about. The conference finals finally approaching and hitting us. Already under full swing, I should say. But we got some good things to talk about when it comes to these conference finals. Nuggets up 2-0, Heat stealing one in Boston. It's been an exciting factor. And of course, it's all played out because of how amazing that second round action was as well. But of course, as usual, Danny, how's everything going today?
Kate, I hope I'm all right. On my screen, you're laggy and I'm laggy, but I'm going well today. My Wi-Fi has been bugging out, but I hope you can even hear me. Can you hear me, Kate?
I got you. You sound fine so far.
Cool. All right, yeah. I'm sitting outside my.
Oh, so yeah, there we go. Now we got the cutoff there a little bit. But
I hope
yeah, we
I
knew it was
hope
going to
my
come at some point.
apartment Wi-Fi. Yeah. I hope it stays smooth. But it was about time we did a show. We still got to figure out a consistent schedule going on, so we had to get one out there. I wasn't gonna miss another one. I hope this Wi-Fi stays up because we got a lot to talk about.
Oh, definitely for sure. And of course, I mean, when you're talking about these conference finals, you're talking about the Nuggets and Lakers. I think a lot of people were expecting the Nuggets to be there with one of the top or the back-to-back MVP in the league in Nikola Jokic. Lakers, on the other hand, a bit of a surprise at this point in the season. But of course, Danny, you called it. You knew they were going to be here. So it's not really a surprise to you, but it is a surprise to the rest of the country. And of course, we also have to talk about Heat Celtics. Heat stealing one in game one in Boston. Jimmy Buckets, the big game. We'll obviously get into that a little bit later. But let's start off with those Western Conference finals. Nuggets, Lakers. Nuggets up 2-0 in the series. Danny, I'll let you ramble on a little bit first because I know you've got a lot to say, especially I think after the performance last night in game two. But let's hear what you got.
I'll start with this. I know the Lakers are down 0-2 now. It's not a place they want to be. In first two series they were able to steal game one, kind of take game two off and then, take the two at home and kind of take control of the series heading into the homestand. Now they're down 0-2. And Kate, I gotta say, I'm not too worried. Like if I were to put like a scale on like, 1 to 10, how worried I am, 10 being like, there no shot. I would say I'm at like a 5 because Michael Malone before game one, he's talking about how, man, everyone's talking about how the Lakers made adjustments. We're not scared. And I'm just gonna say it was the Jamal Murray game because this dude just went nuts. And without this, this crazy performance from Jamal, I think the Lakers, besides, a terrible game from AD offensively, Braun, was missing some layups, chucking up threes. I think for the most part, it was actually a pretty good performance. Overall, Jamal, I mean, he just went nuts in the fourth. And sometimes, when someone gets that hot, there's not too much you can do. Starting the game off 5 for 17, finishing with 37 points. Man, he there was just nothing the Lakers could do. And when someone's getting that hot, it's like you kind of just waiting for him to miss. But Rui got what he wanted. Mike Malone was making a big deal how they're not really scared of Roy, but I thought he played a great game offensively. They were running layup lines on the Nuggets, who really have no defensive interior presence, and he was banging with Jokic, who I feel like he didn't play that great of a game. 9 for 21, 42% from the field, his third worst shooting performance of the entire season. In the entire season. I think the Lakers really do have something going for them. AD shot 4 for 15, something like that. But I thought he was pretty dominant defensively, and he seemed pretty. He was attacking the rim. Just shots weren't falling. And I think the Lakers bounced back and tie up the series. I don't know. I think game 3 is tomorrow, and then game 4 is Sunday, I believe. So heading into Monday, I expect the series to be tied up 2-2. What did you see, kid?
Yeah, I think the one biggest takeaway from both these games is the fact that the Nuggets have never really ever been able to put away the Lakers. I mean, you go back to game one, it was only a 6-point loss for the Lakers, where even though the Nuggets got out to this big lead, they had to keep their starters out there. They could not put them away. They knew the Lakers were going to stick around, be right there. And you saw it in the game last night. Obviously, Jamal Murray having a very big fourth quarter, similar to what you saw Jason Tatum do in game seven of the Eastern Conference second round between the 76ers. Not in that same vein, obviously, Jamal Murray put up a much better game in the long run, but it was that same mindset that the Lakers went into the fourth quarter with the lead, and Jamal Murray took over and was actually able to get those points and so put the Nuggets in a position to win. Now, of course, I'll say this: I was with my cousin yesterday. I didn't really have much of a chance to watch the game, but still, it was a situation where the Nuggets aren't in a position where they've really been able to put away this Lakers team. And when you're going back home to LA, where you know the fans are going to be down your throat, probably going to be a very similar home environment to what I feel like a lot of teams have seen out of Denver this year in this postseason. It's going to be a very threatening experience for that Nuggets team. The one thing that's also nice about this Lakers team is the depth at height. They just have a much bigger team. They have a much more dominant team. I mean, they have these role players who are able to actually step up and get good points. I mean, you saw it with Rui last night. Obviously, it was a loss, but he stepped up and played really good basketball. If I remember correctly, I think on Tuesday it was Austin Reeves who ended up putting together a pretty good game himself. Let me check that real quick. Yeah, I mean, Reeves had 23 in that game. The quietest 40-point game by Anthony Davis I think we've seen, just because it was a 6-point Nuggets win in the Western Conference Finals in Game 1. So, I mean, yeah, if you're a Lakers fan, I think the one thing that's going to be the most concerning part is Games 5 and Game 7, where you know you're going to have to win in Denver, because it's going to be a back-and-forth series no matter what. But if you're also a Lakers fan, you also got to understand that Game 1 and Game 2 showed that you can go into Denver and win a game if you're able to keep that composure and actually play solid defense. And that's something that this Lakers team can do. As long as they're able to protect home court, they can steal one in Denver. It'd have to probably be a Game 5, in my opinion. I think winning one in Game 7 in Denver is going to be incredibly difficult, but it's not necessarily impossible. So I think, yeah, that Game 5, it could go to the Lakers. I think they could win that one. But Denver, I mean, no surprise coming out of Denver. Jokic didn't have a great game yesterday, but he still put up a triple-double. Jamal Murray's finally starting to do the stuff we saw him do back in the bubble. MPJ's been actually playing good basketball for what I feel like is the first time since he played in Missouri. Aaron Gordon, those role players playing good basketball overall. This is exactly what you expected out of the number one overall seed, one of the most sound teams in basketball right now. So even though the Lakers, I think, are going to put up a good fight, this Nuggets team is still showing why they're one of the top teams, if not the best team in the NBA.
I mean, there's a reason why. I think, yeah, we both had them going all the way to the Western Conference Finals. KK, did you have them going all the way, or you had the Suns going all the way, right?
No, I took the Suns. I mean, looking at it, yeah, I definitely should have taken the Nuggets. Again, they're a much more sound, much more reliable team. But at the same time, I thought maybe there was a little bit of life left to my Suns.
Yeah, no, I remember you weren't even too confident in that Suns pick, because I mean, all season long we both were in love with this Denver team, and then like you kind of said, you know, the Nuggets, they're, you know, a lot of people were talking about how dominant like the Warriors were at home court, but this Nuggets team, I saw some stat yesterday against Western Conference teams, they only lost one game all season at home. So this is a dominant home court team, and the fact that the Lakers were able to, you know, lose by 5 last night, and then I think it was like 6 2 nights ago. So, you know, they put up fights. I think they covered the spread both times, this Lakers team. You know, coming into LA, I think we need to see Bron kind of go attack mode, because he's able to get to the rim with ease. I went back and rewatched Game 2 this morning because I was a little bored. I ain't got nothing to do. He only had 3 set. I counted 3 set plays the entire first quarter with LeBron. I don't know why he was just sitting in the corner. It felt like all first quarter, letting AR run point. So I definitely want to see like Bron kind of, you know, get out and get going. I remember in the Warrior series Game 3, I think he had like 6 assists in the first half. Where, you know, he kind of just takes over as point guard. And then, I don't know, he looks kind of tired. He was chucking up threes late in the game, not attacking. So if LeBron is tired, then it's wraps. But at the same time, Lakers undefeated at home. Another thing I want to touch on, Cade, you know, I think before the playoffs started, I compared D'Lo to Andrew Wiggins. Boy, was that a terrible take. I think it's fair to say he's no longer the third best player on this team. Game 1, -25. Game 2, -16. I think D'Lo is going to have to either play that 6-man or just, you know, Darvin Ham's gonna have to limit his minutes because this dude, he gets hunted on defense. He has no transition defense, and he's just inconsistent on offense. I expect him to play better at home. He's been pretty good at home. I think he's only had like one dud at home so far in the playoffs. I think it was against Golden State, but uh, D'Lo is just one of those guys where he's just hot and cold, and if he's cold, he's almost like benchable like second half if he's not off to a hot start in the first half. So, adjustments wise, I think Darvin Ham's going to give less minutes to D'Lo, unfortunately, and I mean maybe Vando on Jamal Murray Lakers can't see Jamal get hot again like this.
Yeah, I mean, you saw what happened in that Sun series, that when you were able to limit the or not, they're not role players, but the players around Jokic. Jokic can go up and put big numbers, but if you can limit the damage that players like Jamal Murray, MPJ, Aaron Gordon, KCP, if you could limit what they're able to do, then you're going to be able to go out there and win those games. It's just one of those things where you have to pick your poison and recognize that as long as Jokic isn't as long as the rest of this team isn't putting up crazy stats, we can let Jokic get those big numbers and still find a way to win this game. And one of the nice things that you talked about, I mean, obviously D'Lo, you compared him to Wiggins. That's not the case. He's so hot, he's so cold sometimes. But I mean, that's this Lakers roster. They have a team where it's like you might have a player that goes out there and puts up crazy stats. The next game won't do anything too significant, or the next 3 games won't do anything too significant. But you know that the next game somebody else in that roster is going to take that spot, and then the next game somebody else is going to. It's just a revolving door of people coming in and taking those big shots, getting up those big points. You saw it with Rui. You've seen it with Austin Reeves. D'Lo's done it. Lonnie Walker's done it. I mean, you have these players that consistently on this team will step up in the moments when it's necessary at random points, which is, I mean, if you're a Lakers fan, that's beneficial because you can go into a game thinking, okay, who's going to get hot today? And you're not going to have to worry about somebody kind of slowing that team down too much. But yeah, I think just in general, if you can just limit that Nuggets team outside of Jokic, it's you can make things work out, because if Jokic is putting up big numbers, especially when it comes to points, you know that Jamal's not going to be, MPJ is not going to be, that Aaron Gordon, this entire starting roster isn't going to be, because Jokic is carrying the load necessary for that team to win. So it's definitely doable, and I think it will happen. I think it's just a matter of making sure that you can, again, limit that shooting and that just the playing ability of this Denver roster outside of Denver. I think it's very easy to win games at home, especially in the series against Denver. I mean, the Suns have done it. Minnesota, a team that was looked very, very questionable this season, was even able to get one at home against Denver. But even then, you're talking about a team that you have to go into Denver and win a game unless this Denver team is going to go on to win or to play in the NBA Finals. In my opinion, possibly even win the end, or not even possibly win. I think the Finals at this point runs out of the West.
Oh, 100%. I love that take. We'll get into the Celtics. Take for you. I remember, a year and a half ago now when you made this banner, you said, hey, Danny, give me the top 3 players you want above you. I got JT, I got my boy Bron, and I went with my boy Jamal Murray. And Kay, you tell me if this is crazy, but is Jamal Murray the best shooting guard in the league?
Oh, not best shooting guard. I think he had the of course, when anybody's hot, they're going to be one of the top players in the league. Consistently, no, he's not the best shooting guard in the league, and you know exactly who I'd say.
I don't know. Are you taking Jamal Murray versus Devin Booker? I think is an actual argument.
What? I
think that's an actual argument.
I think give it a season, yeah, but I didn't see enough out of Jamal Murray this past season to really make that argument a true argument. I mean, Devin Booker back in when was this? This was last year. The 2022 season. Devin Booker finished top 5 in MVP voting. You look at this year, Devin Booker, outside of injury, still one of the top shooting guards in the league. I think Jamal Murray 100%. I mean, maybe it's just the ACL still trying to bounce back from that. He can 100% be one of the top shooting guards in the league, possibly the best shooting guard in the league, especially when you have a guy like Jokic on your team. But at the same time, I just think it's a little bit too early to say that right now. Let's see what happens next season before I truly say that he is the best shooting guard. And even then, you still got guys like, that's where I'm sitting at that.
Okay. Okay, maybe he's not better than D Book, but I really do think, even though no All-Stars, no All-NBAs, I really do think he could be right up there with D Book. I got to look deeper into the numbers, but are you taking him or Donovan Mitchell, who's, I don't know, ever since the bubble was kind of disappointed. We saw them he wasn't able to lead the Cavs past the Knicks. Maybe Shea, Gilgeous out in OKC over Jamal. He can put up 30 a game, obviously, but he really hasn't proven anything just yet. So I think right now, I think Jamal Murray, no All Stars. I think he's number 2 behind D Book. That's over Beal. That's over James Harden. Give me Jamal Murray, who after last night's performance, I think he's number 2 behind D Book.
I think, yeah, one of the top. I mean, Shea's up there as well. I think, again, hasn't proved much yet, but the fact that he was on the team, I mean, he was performing incredibly well and helped the Thunder get to just the play-in. That's enough of a win for the Thunder in general. But I think Jamal at his peak could be one of the top, if not the top shooting guard in the league, without a doubt. But you want to head over to the Eastern Conference, Heat Celtics?
Let's do it, because, man, Cade, were we wrong about this Heat team? Were we so wrong?
Well, okay, here's the thing, is that you look at the way it lays out. He played Milwaukee 8 versus 1. You've got to think Milwaukee, the way they played the entire season, would beat this Heat team. And, I mean, it wasn't even a close series. The Heat took care of business easily. They were able to win that series in 5 games. Crazy stuff. Now, of course, after taking down the Bucks, you'd think that they could very easily handle the Knicks, which they, I mean, in a sense, did do it easily, but it still won 6 games. So the Knicks even gave them a little bit more of an issue than the Bucks. But you're now looking against the Celtics, the number 2 overall seed, possibly one of the best teams in the NBA, behind the Bucks, possibly the Nuggets. I mean, they've played this entire season like they're one of the top teams in the NBA. And still, even with that being said, you go to game 1 in Boston, you know it's going to be an electric environment, and Jimmy Butler puts up 35 points. Like, that's just insane.
Cade, before we weren't able to hop on a show before the series started, but I threw on a bet that Boston will win this game in 7 games because I've been wrong about this Heat team all playoff long. But Joe Mazzulla versus Eric Spoelstra, I would not be surprised if this Heat team beats this Celtics team, probably the most talented team left in the playoffs, just because, this Celtics team got to be the most annoying team to like watch and root for, because they're starting 5. I mean, there's no reason why they should be losing to this Heat team, right? Like, with Strus and Gabe Vincent, 2 undrafted guys?
Well, I mean, shoot, you go back to the last series against the Sixers, there's no reason that series should have gone 7 games. It's insane.
There's no reason the Hawks series. Remember that Hawks series went 6?
Exactly. I mean, they're, in a sense, they're playing with their food, because, I mean, you look where the Heat are, or not the Heat, the Celtics are right now. You've had the Hawks, you've had the Sixers, and you've had the Heat. Out of those 3 teams, I think it's safe to say that the Sixers were the toughest opponent there based off how they played during the regular season and having the NBA MVP on that team. And even then, they took that series 7 games when it's a series that I personally don't think should have gone that far, knowing the history of the 76ers and knowing the history of Doc Rivers as a coach choking those big-time moments. Now, of course, you're going into a Game 7, or you're going into the Eastern Conference Finals. You're playing a Heat with Spoelstra, which I think outside of maybe Greg Popovich is one of the, and Steve Kerr being as one of the best coaches in the NBA currently. I mean, he's lasted his time there.
I think he's the best.
For him well. You think he's the best?
I would say so.
I don't know. I'd still give it to, I'd put him above Kerr, but I think still you've got to give the flowers to Popovich right now. I mean, he's been able to do what he can to I think Popovich still is the best coach in the NBA. Spoelstra's up there, though, without a doubt. And it shows in this way, the way he's able to get this 8-seed Heat team to the Eastern Conference Finals, going to Game 1 against Boston, the second best team in the East, one of the best teams in the NBA, shown by the way they played this entire season. And they're able to go into TD Garden and win Game 1, reclaim home court advantage. And, I mean, it's interesting to see, because this Boston team last year, they're one of the top defenses, and they were the number 1 defense in the league. And this was just overall a team that, while young, didn't have that experience in the NBA Finals to really get it done. But now but you go back to the Eastern Conference Finals last year, a rematch of when that happened, and you're talking about a Jimmy Butler 3 being the difference maker in the Heat going to the NBA Finals, or the Sixers going to the, or not the Sixers, the Celtics going to the NBA Finals. Obviously, didn't go in. Celtics went on to go and win the East, played the Warriors, lost there. But I could see this being a completely different story this year. Ime Udoka was the head coach last year. Missoula's the head coach this year. We've seen Missoula and we've seen his playing style in the playoffs for the first two series, and it doesn't seem strong enough. It doesn't seem helpful enough in order to get this team over the Miami Heat, which would be crazy to see an eighth seed go to the NBA Finals. And honestly, I think become a really good opponent, whether they are playing the Lakers or the Nuggets. This is a very well coached team. You have a player that I think a lot of people were expecting to slow down at some point, but ever since he played in that first round against the Bucks, he has not slowed down at all. He's continued to pick it up and play amazing basketball. And I mean, you have it possibly going 7, the Celtics winning in 7. I could see it's either the Celtics winning in 7 or the Heat winning in less than 7, probably 6.
Hey, Kate, I don't hate that take because you kind of touched on it, that the difference between Missoula and Ime from last year. If you remember last year, you can fact check me if I'm wrong, because I believe like halfway through the season, maybe the Celtics were like,
Oh, shoot, Danny left. If I know what he's going with, I know what he's going to say. Halfway through the season, going to the All-Star break, the Boston Celtics were a team. There we go. We got him back.
okay.
There you go. I got
Where'd I get cut off?
I think we're just like about to say halfway through the season.
Yeah. If I remember correctly, last year they were halfway through the season. They were like a 500 team. Like I believe they were like the 6th seed, and then they go on a crazy tear second half of the season where they're by far the best defensive team. Because Ime doesn't take shit from nobody on that squad. And the biggest difference for me between this year and last year's Missoula, he doesn't like demand that urgency. And for some reason, Robert Williams, who last year was just dominant as a defensive anchor. I remember last year we were saying, he's like top 5 defensive centers in the league. Man, this dude, Kate, how many games do you think Robert Williams started this year? I couldn't believe it, actually.
Yeah, I'd say probably like 12.
3.
Oh.
Yeah. So Missoula's fallen in love with this Al Horford lineup, where Horford, he's a solid big guy. He can stretch the floor, but regular season, 47% from the field, 44% from 3. In the playoffs, 37 and 30% from deep. So Horford, he's kind of just chucking up shots. And I don't know, I was able to watch that Heat Celtics game pretty closely, and I thought Robert Williams, who went 6 for 6 from the field, he deserves to be on that floor way more than he is. I don't know, and he needs to be matched up on Bam at all times, because he can't really switch everything. I guess that's the reason why they love Al Horford out there, because with Horford they're able to switch anything. But Williams, if he just stays with Bam, who doesn't really have like a 3-point threat, he doesn't even really shoot a jump shot, and he's able to stay down low. I think we talked about this a couple weeks ago, Cade. What happened to Grant Williams, who last year was monumental in that Bucks series, in particular last year in the Eastern Conference Finals? I think he had like a 30-point game, if I remember correctly. He's just picking up DNPs like it's nothing. I know he's kind of short, but and also Marcus Smart. How come the Marcus Smart depoy last year isn't matched up with Jimmy Butler? How come like they're putting Al Horford and the big guys on Jimmy Butler? I get he can't shoot, but I think it's time for Marcus Smart say, give me Jimmy Butler. I'm tailing him 94 feet, one end to the other end. I'm gonna make him work, but like Missoula just loves switching everything, which is a nice luxury to have. But man, there's gonna have to be some adjustments.
Yeah, I agree. I think the things you touched on is you have Robert Williams coming off the bench, who for the majority of the season was being discussed as the winner of that Defensive Player of the Year before being injured, and that focus switching from Robert Williams to Marcus Smart, who ended up being one of the first guards in a long time to win Defensive Player of the Year. So you've realistically had two of the best defensive players on your team, and you're sitting one of them for the majority of the season, giving it up to Al Horford, which Al Horford has the experience. He has the pedigree, the veteran status that is required to, especially at this point in the season where you're playing in these deep playoff runs. But at the same time, Robert Williams has been there before. He has that experience. He was injured and kind of on the ropes last season by the time they got to the NBA Finals. Didn't come into a little bit later in the postseason, but he was still there to be that defensive anchor that was necessary, like next to Marcus Smart. So I don't understand what they're doing there. I think they really need to give Robert Williams those minutes. You might be losing it on the offensive side, but realistically, this is a Heat team that you need to slow down their offense in order to win. So if you're going to focus on that side of it and you're going to focus on your offense, then you need to get more production out of Jason Tatum. You need to get more production out of Marcus Smart. I don't know where Peyton Pritchard has been this entire postseason, but I feel like that's a guy that was so reliant coming off the bench last year, just like Grant Williams. And unlike Grant Williams, he's just not getting playing time. I mean, I feel like during that Sixers series, he didn't see a single lick of the floor. So I'm very interested in the way that Missoula is coaching this team. I think he's relying a little bit too heavily on those three big starters in Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, and Jason Tatum. And I think there needs to be something that actually changes things up in order to make sure that this Celtics team can actually make it back to the NBA Finals. And I don't have the trust that they'll actually go in and win the NBA Finals, but I think they can definitely get back there and make things happen, maybe go 6 games with whoever they play. But at this point, seeing the way that it's being coached, knowing that Spoelstra's on the other side, one of the top coaches in the NBA, Jimmy Butler is going to continue to do what he's been able to do this entire postseason. If he hasn't slowed down now, what makes you think he's going to slow down going forward? And this is a team that, I mean, obviously has been injured. I mean, they've been battle tested. They've been injured. They've had to deal with their losses, and they're still in the same position they are today. There's no way that they're going to go down easy, so might as well make it as hard on them as possible so that even if you lose, you give them the hardest chance there. Put Robert Williams. I just don't know what Missoula is doing in that situation. I think Udoka knew exactly what he wanted with this team. Missoula saw that he would have wanted to do it another way. And the fact that it went 7 games against the Sixers should have been a clear indicator that things need to change for this coaching decision-making. If it wasn't the 7 games against the Sixers, it should be game 1 against the Heat. That was really that big difference maker, and why you should start focusing on what got that team to the NBA Finals last year after realistically adding more players than losing anybody. And that's this focus on defense and the focus on the ability to actually lock down these big time players like Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo, and Kyle Lowry. I mean, throw him in there. It blows my mind that this is, again, a team that got better compared to last year, and they're struggling against a team that realistically is worse off than they were last year in the Eastern Conference Finals when they played. This coaching wise and mentally, the Heat are in a much better and much more prime position to win this series. But if Boston can get it together with the superstars they have, and Missoula can actually go out there and put out the personnel that are necessary in order to get those defensive stops that are required for this Miami team, or to slow them down, that's going to be the difference maker here. And this Boston can win this series and go on to go to the NBA Finals for 2 straight years in a row. But things have to change now in order for that to happen.
And we've seen this with the Celtics team. You know, they try one game, they don't try. And when they're trying and they're hitting their threes, man, they're tough to stop. One thing I want to go back to what you touched on, Cade. Missoula actually dusted off Pritchard in that third quarter of game 1 because, man, they couldn't get anything going offensively. But the problem is that they got Malcolm Brogdon now. Pritchard last year, you know, I thought he played pretty well in the playoffs, but he was only able to get 2 looks, 0 for 2, didn't do too much. But when he was out there, I thought he played pretty well defensively. You know, he's kind of an undersized dude, but he plays like a dog. So he was like the only Celtic I saw like trying to get over screens, fighting through screens. Another guy who, Cade, I don't know if you remember, end of the year, he was on a tear. Derek White. I think we need to see some more Derek White, who I believe second team all defense. Only 21 minutes. I thought he played pretty well defensively. I'll pull up the box score real quick. 4 for 6, so he was efficient. 3 for 5 from deep in game 1. I think we're going to see a little bit more of Derek White. Maybe some less. I don't know. For me, it's just less Al Horford really on the floor. Because man, anything else you want to touch on that Pritchard take, Kay, before, because I want to talk about the Heat a little bit before I move off the Celtics.
I'll hit on Derek White real quick. I remember saying when Derek White was getting those minutes, or when Marcus Smart was injured and Derek White was getting those starting minutes, is that if Derek White's going to go out there and play the way he did as a starter and be able to do that coming off the bench by the time the playoffs come around, knowing that Marcus Smart's going to go out there and be the defensive anchor for this team, we thought that was going to be a huge increase for this team, a huge benefit for this team, because we knew that if you were able to get that off the bench with Brogdon, that's a lethal bench right there, at least when it comes to the shooting ability of that team and the defensive ability of that team as well. You've got the shooter in Brogdon, you've got the defensive anchor in Derek White. And again, it's just interesting to see how now that we're in the playoffs, now that we're in the Eastern Conference Finals, that Missoula is going in different directions, not going with the trust that he had in this team. That I mean, Ime Udoka had in this team to get them to the NBA Finals last year. It just blows my mind that Derek White isn't really necessarily getting the same, I guess, attention that was necessarily we saw earlier on. And of course, even if he's not putting up the best games, you still have Brogdon, you still have Pritchard, you still have Robert Williams off the bench. Which those I think I don't know. It's just a very strange situation that the Celtics are struggling as much as they have been, even though they keep winning.
Yeah, so I agree with you. At the end of the day, I think this Celtics team gets past the Heat. I wouldn't be surprised if the Heat get past them, but I think both of us don't trust the Celtics team to win it all. Is that what? Can I say that, Kate?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think
Yeah.
you either have. I mean, I think as I said earlier on, the finals comes out of the West this year. It's either going to be the Lakers or the Nuggets. I mean, even if it is the Lakers, they're going to match up well against a team like Boston. They're a bigger team. They're going to be a little bit more dominant. I think when you're talking about, like I said, just the ability to go to so many different guys on that team and know that one of them is going to have a big game, that's crazy to think about when you're any team that's having to defend a team like the Lakers, because you don't know who you're going to have to put on who in order to slow them down. And then, of course, when you're looking at a team like the Nuggets, the most sound team in the NBA, realistically, that should be the Boston Celtics, in my opinion. But there's no team playing with better chemistry than the Nuggets right now. And whether it is the Heat or the Celtics, it's going to be a pretty lopsided series if the Nuggets do end up going to the NBA Finals against one of these two teams.
Real quick, I'll touch on this Heat team. Man, is Eric Spoelstra doing something special? Because what makes this Heat team so dangerous, I feel like, is all these guys just play tough, and they all know their roles. Like, they're not afraid to shoot it. And I'll say this real quick before we sign off. The reason why I think this goes 7 is because this Heat team can get just so hot. Strus 6 for 10. Kevin Love 3 for 4. Gabe Vincent 4 for 6. I mean, this Heat team, I wasn't bought in all playoffs long, but man, this team can get hot. And if you have 7 players that give you double-digit points on the road, man, I would not be surprised if somehow we see Gabe Vincent as a starter in the NBA Finals.
Oh, I could see it happen. Real quick, we got this one too. A little comment coming in. Jimmy Butler better than Tatum. I think you could make the argument in the postseason, possibly. I think Jimmy Butler's put up one of the best postseason performances in recent memory. I mean, Devin Booker did it before going out, but now you're talking about as an 8th seed being the lead on this team. We all knew what was going to happen. But overall, if you're talking about playing ability, if you're talking about overall just ability to get it done, by the time these two team players retire, Jason Tatum's going to go down with more NBA Finals. He's going to go down with more MVPs. He's going to be just an overall better player from a historic standpoint.
Man, this is a tough take, Kate. I'm torn because Tatum has had the better team. Jimmy Butler, he's proven that he's number 1, but I guess he's just not like, he doesn't have as deep of a bag, but he's way more consistent than Tatum. So it's tough to say. At the same time, Jimmy Butler, for all he's done, he's not putting up 51 in a game 7 like Tatum is, I think. So I'm still going to take Tatum over him. But in this playoff series, I mean, I feel like Jimmy Butler is, yeah, exactly. I feel like Jimmy's kind of a dog where Tatum, I feel like, I don't know, he's kind of soft. Sometimes he goes soft. I think in game 1, 4th quarter, no field goals. He had some free throws here and there, no field goals, 3 turnovers. Come on, in the 4th quarter at home, game 1, JT just goes soft for some reason. He disappears. Sometimes he goes from Jason Tatum to Jason turnover. But overall, if we're comparing like just career wise, I think JT finishes with a better career than Jimmy. He's just too talented. Where Jimmy, he's kind of an overachiever, right, Kate? Where it's like, he's gonna give it his all, but he doesn't have the bag like JT. And I don't know, he just, maybe he doesn't have a talented enough team to take the Heat or wherever he goes to, the next level. Whereas JT, I feel like JT, he's going to be in the Eastern Conference Finals. If everyone resigns, if JB resigns JT, if they keep this core, he's going to be in the Eastern Conference Finals the next 5 years, I feel like.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's what it kind of feels like. Yeah, I think overall Jimmy Butler, he's going to be the guy he's going to be reliable no matter what. He's going to be that workhorse. He's going to be that train. He's going to be you're going to get what you sign out of him. It's not going to be these like inconsistent moments. So I agree with you there. He's just more of a dog. He's got more of a fight in him, all that. So I agree. To answer that last question, who do I want to win? I got to go with Denver right now. I just think after them beating the Suns, I want the best team in the league. I want the Suns to go down to the best team in the league, and I think that's the Denver Nuggets. So that's kind of my logic behind that. Danny, we all know who you want.
Yeah, said it. When the season's never mind. When the Lakers traded for D'Lo and got Russell Westbrook out of there, I had the Lakers coming out of the West. So from Europe, that's pretty sick. The Joker, he got a big following over there. Hey, I wouldn't be surprised if the Nuggets take it all as well. I'm not going to be surprised if they beat this Lakers team. But yeah, I got my boy Bron, going all the way.
Hey, winning his 5th, right?
Yes, sir.
Hey, or maybe some people that'd be 4.5 to some people, maybe just flat out 4 to others. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be a big series no matter what. I mean, the Western Conference, Eastern Conference, it's going to set up for definitely one of the best times of the year just because, I mean, who doesn't love the NBA Finals? It's definitely it's summertime NBA Finals. If you want to throw hockey in there, you got the Stanley Cup Finals as well. It's a great time of the year. Can't be complaining too much about that. Danny, you got anything else to wrap this up with, though?
Hey, our boy in the chat says he's from France. Congratulations, if you're a Spurs fan now. Man, Spurs, another number 1 overall pick. Maybe in the offseason we'll be able to. We're gonna talk more draft for sure, Kate.
Oh yeah.
But man, Spurs are gonna be back.
Oh, 100%. Hey, they're able to make some pretty big adjustments based off the last 2 number 1 overall picks they've had. So it's only fitting that they get one of the top number 1 overall picks in recent memory. So that's going to be fun for them. But yeah, that's it for today's show. Obviously a little bit odd doing it on Friday afternoon. We'll be back Sunday night if everything works out as planned. Thank you for joining us on such an odd time, but of course we'll be keeping up with these most recent conference finals. We'll make sure we get back to you with some new and interesting stuff, especially when it comes to fashion and some of the other news around the NBA on that Sunday. So thank you guys so much for joining us again. See you next time.